And taxpayers across the country have made their voices heard by signing a Canadian Taxpayer Federation petition in support of this bill. In fact, almost 50,000 Canadians signed the petition. And when the bill was introduced, the Taxpayers Federation said, "When the government does something right, they deserve credit." End quote. So as you can see, victims and other major organizations strongly support this piece of legislation. But what has really made an impact on me is the reaction from everyday Canadians. The number of Canadians who care about this issue and took time out of their busy lives to write, email, and call in support of this bill has been truly remarkable. In fact, I've received more correspondence from Canadians who support this bill than I have on almost any other issue. And I believe that it's important that their voices be heard, so I want to share with you a very small sample of what Canadians are saying. From Cornwall, Ontario, quote, "It's ludicrous that Clifford Olson is entitled to benefits he doesn't need, doesn't deserve, and hasn't earned." From Campbell River, British Columbia, "Thank you so much for introducing Bill C-31 so quickly to the House. You are to be commended for listening to the people who were so shocked to hear of the outrageous amount of money going to incarcerated men and women in the form of OAS." And from Winnipeg, Manitoba, "Thank you for saying what most Canadians think. It is truly an outrage that Clifford Olson would get a pension on top of what he has in prison." From Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, "Canadian taxpayers have too long been held in ransom by those in our society and nation who flaunt the mores and break the laws of decent, law-abiding citizens." From Edmonton, Alberta, "Thank you for bringing the issue of prisoner pensions forward, and I wish you much success with your initiative. I am hopeful that wisdom prevails from all parties on this issue." From Oshawa, Ontario, "I'm glad that C-31 has been introduced. It's a step in the right direction. Let's just hope this bill moves swiftly through to becoming law, putting an end to this insane practice in Canada." And from Halifax, Nova Scotia, "You are correct. Canadians who have spent their whole lives working and obeying the rules are the only ones entitled to these benefits, and I applaud the Conservatives for recognizing this and actually doing something about it quickly. Again, thank you for your good work. Much appreciated." End quote. Oh, Mr. Speaker, the overwhelming report that we have received from Canadians across this great country is proof that this bill is the right thing to do. As you may be aware, shortly after this bill was introduced, the government received a letter from Clifford Olson himself, written from prison. In it, he states that he is against this bill and is going to take the government to court if this bill passes. Well, if a criminal who brutally murdered 11 children doesn't agree with this bill, then I think that's even more proof that this bill is the fair and right thing to do. Mr. Speaker, it's very unfortunate for decades previous governments ignored this unfair and wrong practice, but it's not surprising. There is a fundamental difference between our Conservative government and the opposition. They are more concerned with the rights of prisoners who break the law and terrorize innocent families than they are with the rights of victims and law-abiding citizens.
Our Conservative government, on the other hand, continues to stand up for the rights of victims and their families, and we have strong record of action to prove it. For example, we created the Office of the Federal Ombudsman of Victims of Crime to serve as an independent resource for victims in Canada. Over the last 3 years, we have committed $52 million in order to respond to a variety of needs of victims of crime, including the Victims Fund, which provides resources for victims of crime, support for Canadians victimized abroad, National Parole Board hearings, testimonial aids to assist child victims and witnesses with video conferencing testimony. And finally, support for underserved victims, including Northern and Aboriginal victims. Furthermore, Budget 2010 provided additional funding of $6.6 million over 2 years, and we will be introducing legislation to make the victim surcharge mandatory to better fund victim services. We are also taking action to facilitate access to EI sickness benefits for eligible Canadians who have lost a family member as a result of a crime.
Bill C-31 is in keeping with our Conservative government's commitment to put victims and law-abiding Canadians first, ahead of criminals. Our government took quick action to put an end to incarcerated criminals receiving taxpayer-funded benefits that are meant to help Canadian seniors who have contributed so much and so many positive things to our country. Bill C-31, the Eliminating Entitlement for Prisoners Act, puts an end to hard-working Canadian taxpayers paying twice for prisoners. This bill is all about the responsible use of public funds and the fair treatment of Canadian taxpayers. We're taking action to put an end to entitlements for prisoners and to ensure that those Canadians who have spent their lives working hard and playing by the rules receive the benefits that they deserve. This bill is the fair and right thing to do. It's what Canadians want us to do. I implore the opposition to listen to Canadians, to put victims and taxpayers first, ahead of criminals, and pass this bill quickly. Je vous remercie. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Questions and comments, questions et commentaires. Resuming debate.